If you're always leaning towards someone else's opinions when you are choosing decisions that affect your life, you are a people pleaser and you are not living life for yourself. How do I know? Because that was me all of my life. Almost always choosing what someone else, especially my family, wanted for me, trying to meet their expectations and considering their opinions with every decision that I made ultimately led me to feel directionless. I would say I went through a young adult life crisis. I was depressed. I was unclear of what I wanted to do because for the longest time, I wasn't living life for me. Choosing myself led me to and through some of the most pivotal points of my life. And ultimately, it led me to Korea, which blossomed this whole other side of me that I didn't even know was there. If you ever felt burdened with the weight of your family's expectations, if you ever felt like you weren't achieving what your peers were doing and that you were falling behind, this is your video. I think from a young age, I was conditioned to always consider my family's opinions, to try to live up to their expectations because they were immigrants. I know the story of my family so well. I know that it's a story of struggle. It's a story of resilience. It's a story of being extremely poor in a country that really did not accept people that looked like you. And so knowing that the hardships that my family went through in order to even give me the opportunities that I had, I felt like there was a way that I had to repay them. I had to do what they expected because that is what they built on their backs for me to do. I didn't want to disappoint my family, and I think that that is the root of really all of my people pleasing is I don't like to disappoint others. So if you did something that you decided that you wanted to do and as a response from your family or your parents, you hear, "So this is how you decide to repay me?" Of course that's going to make you feel horrible. Why would you want to choose yourself again or what you want to do? Because ultimately it's hurting the people that you care for the most. Especially if they're investing their time, their energy, their money into helping you along in your own journey. Why put them through something that may ultimately disappoint them? That was my journey. That's what I had to figure out for myself. And then what if what I chose ultimately did not work out? I would always be reminded that I should have gone the other way, that I should have listened to them. And no matter what I learned in my own journey, I was always wrong when it didn't turn out the way that it was supposed to. Why make a choice that potentially would make me feel worse about what I'm doing than just going along with the flow and making them happy? I had to learn how to take my life back for me. And that has been the most rewarding thing that I could have ever done because choosing myself led me to the happiest version of myself. I was born with a rare condition called tibia hemimelia. My tibia bone did not grow properly when I was in the womb. It did not grow to the length that it needed to grow to, and I essentially had a club foot. My parents had to figure out what was going to be the course of treatment for me to be able to walk, to run, to skip, to jump, to do anything like the other kids. Their decision came down to amputation. So the week before my first birthday, my leg was amputated. And since the age of 1 all the way through the rest of my life, I have had a prosthetic leg. My family, my mother, my father, my grandparent, my grandma, everybody in my life has always pushed me and have always supported me in everything that I did. But early on, I know that my mom was trying her hardest to get me into activities to just allow me to feel like I'm normal. She put me into piano so I could be doing something extracurricular that didn't necessarily revolve around my leg. And also it was something that she wanted to do for herself. She loved the piano and she grew up trying to play the piano. And so I feel like it was just natural for her to have me enroll in piano lessons with the goal or the idea of me using piano as a way to get scholarships and be successful. I played the piano for 10 years, from 4 to 14, and I hated it. Is it what I wanted to do? No. My grandma had always said that I learned how to dance before I could walk. The way that music made me feel and the way that music naturally came out of my body, just creatively and in motion, that was something that I love to do. And I begged my mom, I begged her so much to put me in dance class. I think when I was young, I went to one dance class and it was a ballet class. And that was it, because the only thing that the teacher kept on telling the kids to do was point their toes, point their toes, point their toes. And I couldn't. I don't know if it was more so me reacting to that ballet experience, or was it what she saw from that ballet experience and the limitations that she saw that I could not do. But I didn't go back to dance class for years after that. When my mother came across this performance dance studio, she had me take a few classes, and I was so in love. My heart was literally happy. At that time, I was doing both dance and piano, and my mom was like, I cannot support both financially and energy-wise, because I also had a brother that was doing stuff. She gave me an ultimatum between dance and piano, and I chose dance. I wasn't only dancing hip hop, but then I got accepted to join the dance company, which involved ballet, jazz, tap, hip hop, all of these things that in my mind previously, I'm like, I can't do. There was something foundational that dance brought out within me. I learned how to find confidence in the way that my body moved. I learned how to look at myself confidently in the mirror. Dance taught me how to fall in love with the process. One of my biggest goals in dance was to be able to do a straddle leap. That was the ultimate achievement for me at one point. That took a lot of training, that took practice, that took focus and watching form. It took research. I had to figure out what was the best moves, what strength exercises I needed to do in order to be able to get to that point. When we have a goal for ourselves, when we are trying to do something that we really want to do, sometimes we get so focused on the end result that we forget about the process it takes, all the hard work that sometimes you don't want to do, all of that in order to get to that end result. And once I was able to leap across that stage, I was in bliss. You know how they say that your environment shapes you? When I was about to graduate, I was doing lots of college tours around Florida. I'm from Central Florida, if you guys don't know. I had the option of going to UCF, to University of West Florida, to University of Miami, to Florida State University. But there was something that happened when I came on the campus of Florida State University. When I walked on campus, I just felt like it was me. I saw myself there. It was everything that I envisioned college would look like, would feel like, would be. And that is what I wanted. But at the back of my mind, and honestly, right beside me at every single one of these college tours was my mother, who was also feeding me, well, think about this. If you go to UCF, you'll be closer to home. You'll be able to save money off because you'll be able to stay at home. Maybe consider doing community college for 2 years. If it wasn't for my aunt who was on that tour with me, I probably would have gone to a completely different university than I did. So she sat me down and she's like, Natalie, don't consider what everybody is telling you, because at the end of the day, this is your life. You're the one that's going to be going to college. You're the one that's going to have to be living through it. This is for you. What is it that you want? And it was the hardest thing for me to say that my heart was feeling FSU, because I knew that that's not what my mom wanted to hear. Now, don't get it wrong. My mom never missed an opportunity to tell me about how much money she was spending on all the stuff that she was providing. She was paying my tuition. She was paying my room and board. And I am so appreciative of that. But I know that there was also a heavy cloud of guilt that followed me because of this decision that I made. I was always worried that I didn't make the right choice. I was worried that I was too involved on campus and I was being distracted from my goals, which is something that I was always reminded of. Me choosing to go to FSU was my first taste of freedom. It was the first time I was away from home. It was the first time I could feel some kind of independence and choose for myself. During my years there, I also was learning so much about the relationships in my life. I had some really life-changing relationships, whether it was friendships or romantic relationships, that taught me how to trust my gut and also to learn how to value myself and my body. I also was learning that life does not go as planned. All my life, I dreamed of being a doctor. I entered college as a pre-med student. My grades dropped so low that I couldn't even finish being a pre-med student. I had to change my whole major, and that shifted me on to a completely different path that I did not even anticipate for. FSU was also really centered on student involvement and student leadership. And so being at that school pushed me to get involved, pushed me to be in leadership positions, which tapped into skills that I didn't even know that I had. Up until that point, I had done everything right. I had gone to school, I have gotten great grades, I went to university, I graduated. The next thing I had to do was get a job and get a great salary and blah, blah, blah. I did everything right. Now that I followed what society, what my family, what my parents valued, what they wanted me to do, I was now left in a space where I'm just like, what's next? Like, you tell me everything to do to get to this point, but at this point now it's all on me. And I'm like, nothing is going the way that I thought it was going to go. And that, along with stuff that was happening towards the end of my university years, led me into a deep depression that I didn't even know that I had. I wasn't even aware that I was depressed. I didn't know what depression looked like. You feel directionless. You feel confused. You don't know what path to take. It's hard to make decisions on your own. You're trying to find your purpose. You're probably living back at home with your parents feeling like some kind of failure. All of these feelings that I was having, including the disappointment that I had for myself because I wasn't where I thought I needed to be at that time, led me to make the next choice, which was to go to Korea. I was also in a position where living in a foreign country looked better than the current situation that I was living in and that I was feeling. Choosing to go to Korea was an easy choice. Getting to Korea was not as easy. I got rejected from Epic the first time I applied. Actually, I never got accepted by Epic, period. Like, seriously. I ended up having to find a recruiter that would work closely with me to try to find some kind of position that was going to be open for me. That took months. I really didn't think that I was going to end up in Korea, but in my mind, I spoke it, I envisioned it, I saw it, I watched it. I watched all of these Korea videos and I just knew that that is what I wanted to do. And so when I finally got an interview with a school in like February for a March position, I was just so excited. That journey to Korea, which I thought was only going to be a year, ended up changing who I was to the core, because now I'm in a position where I'm completely away from family and direct influences. Every choice that I made in Korea from that point on was for me. While I was in Korea, I was able to utilize the skills that I learned as a leader at FSU and a teacher and to implement them in the classroom. I was able to utilize the confidence that I found within myself through dance as I walked through the streets as a bigger Black woman in an Asian country. I found lifelong friendships, and I wouldn't have found those if I didn't utilize what I learned from failed relationships in college to not be taken advantage of. I learned how to listen to my intuition because, girl, that intuition is going to tell you who's for you and who's not. When you start choosing what you want to do for your own betterment outside of what it looks like to your peers or what society is telling you to do, when you choose you, that is where you find the happiness. Whether or not it works out, it's about what you learn on that journey, because what you learn is going to be taken and applied throughout the rest of your life. You may be thinking that you could never imagine going against what your family wants. Maybe you're living under their roof or they're still paying for your insurance. My advice is to start choosing you, even in the smallest ways. Choosing yourself in these small ways while also being respectful to your family and also setting boundaries about what you will and won't take from them will begin to build trust between you and your family. The family that you were born into is important, but the family that you choose is even more important. There's nothing you can really do about the family that you were born into. You have to learn how to love them through their flaws, through their fears, through whatever expectations that they may have for you, because a lot of what they're feeling is based off of fears of their own. When you choose your family, these are going to be people that you can surround yourself with that are going to feed into what exactly you want to do. If it's something that you want to your core, that you want to choose for yourself, and you know that it's going to make you happy, you have to work at it. Figure out how it's going to be done. And when you figure out how it's going to be done, work on it every day, little by little. I wanted to leap across that stage despite me having one leg. I wasn't able to just wake up and sashay and leap into it. I had to work for it. I challenge you to find one way today to choose what you want to do. Not because it's what society is asking you to do, not because it's what your parents told you to do, not because of anybody else, but yourself. Take it from a fabulous traveling amputee dancer. When you choose yourself, you are always going to win. Please make sure that you're subscribed because I have so many other video topics in mind on how you can change your life and how, honestly, I became FabulousNat, okay? Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.